right, welcome back, Nerd Nation. Today we have Karl, a frequent guest for us.
Good morning.
We are going to talk about a day in the life of a salesman. So you've done sales a long time.
Yeah, I'd say so in some fashion.
Yep, a lot of door-to-door.
Yeah, door-to-door started in 2010. So
that's a long time. That's a good
12
career.
Years.
I mean, you're almost as old as Babe.
Right?
Well, no one's as old as Babe, but.
True.
Had to put that plug in there, Babe. So tell me, you've done a lot of, like I said, door-to-door sales. Your schedule is pretty crazy, right?
It is. With the family for sure.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
At first it was a little bit different, but as the years have gone on and your family's grown, the dynamic has changed.
It does. It's before you would, like work all the time, right? I mean, come home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, knock doors till 8 o'clock at night, grind it out and keep the wife happy and the family happy, or even see my kids grow up. It's you have to kind of change the way that you approach everything so you can balance, sales and personal life.
And the interesting thing is, and we're going to get into this, but there's a lot more to do than just knock doors or run appointments, right?
There's a lot.
Yeah. And you're really good at creating your own leads through some marketing and stuff. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about that. So first off, let's talk about the days you work. I know it changes, but you typically take Sundays off.
Yes, always. Sundays off always. I've worked, I think, one Sunday in solar in 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
And then the other day of the week is kind of rotating for you because of the family dynamic.
Correct.
But you always try and take one day off during the week, not Saturdays. So why is that?
Well, Saturdays a lot of times becomes the day because of sports and things like that. But, Saturdays people are home.
Right.
Right. Usually you're going to have both decision makers there. So I like running appointments in the morning on Saturdays and, try to be done in the afternoon so you can still kind of have a halfway decent weekend.
Right.
But yeah, it does rotate, during the week based on the time of the year, based on school, based on schedules,
right.
Gotta be home, sometimes.
And your goal is to work Saturdays, like you said, because that's when you're most likely to get both decision makers where you can, get that decision.
Exactly. And if you want to go knock some doors as well too, typically people are home.
Yep. And then interesting enough, but one of your goals, and you and I have talked a lot about your personal goals, is to make sure that you do have family time.
Yes.
And so a lot of times you will take a day off during the week so you can spend with Amy and the kids.
Correct. Yep. And again, like you said, that day varies, either Mondays or Wednesdays, just depending. But it's what I try to do if I can't take the full day is I'll do a half day, or maybe I'll, take the whole day and run an appointment at 5 o'clock, right? 20 minutes in the house, something that can be home not too late, but at least I'm there most of the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so why is that important to you? Why are you trying and juggle all that? It sounds kind of hectic and chaotic.
Well, you have to have a good balance in your life, which I think we all struggle with, and especially in sales.
Balance. What's that?
Yeah, balance. Right. Trying to just keep your numbers up, right, and keeping that pipeline going while keeping, in my case, 5 people happy at the same time. It can be difficult,
right?
But we try to work together on that, and I do a very good job at taking some days off, but sometimes there's weeks it's like you just can't,
right.
And but there's also an understanding that comes with being married to someone in sales like that as well too.
Yeah,
where it is you're really kind of open 24/7. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, business doesn't wait. It really doesn't. And if someone wants to ask you a question, and the thing for myself personally that I've customer service wise is I'm always available.
Yeah.
I mean, text. I mean, I'm not going to answer your call. Like, I had a customer call me at 7 o'clock this morning. Sorry, man, I'm not answering that phone call. It's a little bit too early. You can shoot me a text message, right? If it's an emergency, you call back. Right. But most of the times, as people calling at 7 a.m. or 10 o'clock at night, it's usually not an emergency. They can wait.
Right.
Respect yourself, respect your time. You don't have to be, yes, I'm open, but there's also boundaries.
Yeah. Yep. And then if there is an emergency, you typically have work to do at 10 o'clock at night or.
Yes. And you'll be getting a phone call.
Yes.
if
my wife has learned that my day starts early and ends late. So.
Yep, for sure. But, it's not about, but even though, taking a day off, right? But I'm always doing something on my days. Like I'm not just sitting, if I don't have appointments, right? Or, or if say I can't go out and knock doors, I'm not just sitting there watching TV. I'm following up, I'm checking accounts, working my pipeline, looking at social media, maybe making a post, just constantly doing something to push the ball forward.
Exactly. And so tell me this, and again, I know we can't have the perfect day every day, right? But what's a perfect day? So when do you wake up? What do you do in the mornings? How do you juggle, getting kids off to school and all that kind of stuff? So what's your schedule like with 4 kids and a busy schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I almost say I don't get up at 5 a.m. That's one thing I do like to sleep a little bit. But I mean, it's usually like 6:30, 7 o'clock.
You're a night person, though.
I am.
Yeah, because I know I've gotten texts after midnight before.
Easily, yeah. I'll work till 1 o'clock in the morning because it's just how I've always been.
Yep, you're a night guy.
But 6:30, 7 o'clock usually. I mean, during the school year, probably more like 6:30.
Right.
Just because the first kid has to be at school by 7, and then it's 8, and then 9. Right. So it's kind of those 3 hours. So.
And is that something that you and Amy decide that you're going to take kids to school because your afternoons are usually busy, or how does that work?
It just kind of depends on my schedule. I mean, I don't usually run a lot of morning appointments. It's kind of one of those things. Usually my day, like appointment wise, usually starts, probably around that noon or 1 o'clock time frame, goes through the evening.
Right.
So there's not a lot of, 9 a.m. and 10 a.m.s, that we usually run. So I try to kind of keep those open. So it's more of, I usually make a list or email myself the night before of things I need to accomplish in the next day, just things I need to check on or email a pod about, or just, little things, right?
But that's huge. I got a phone call this morning about, rep and they were just asking about different things on accounts and you do that every day. Like you go through your accounts, your pipeline, and then you just make a note to yourself of what you need to accomplish the next day. That's
task or a note or whatever,
exactly.
I'm emailing pod at, midnight, right? I mean, just going through and survey or this or confirm this, just because you're constantly, and then also it's just requests from homeowners as well too. You want to be in contact with your homeowners during the process, which create referrals. I think it's very, very important to do that. So they're constantly asking you questions, so you need to look it up in the system, right? Or I'm going to be sending them messages like, hey, survey or final design was done. We're submitting permits next week. Like, awesome, man. We're moving forward. Anybody talk to you yet about it? Like getting that little touch. So I'm constantly I use paper and schedules and my mind, trying to remember my accounts, but just kind of like a rolling schedule in my mind, I guess you could say, that I'm always doing something.
That is something I've always noticed about you is you have a notebook and you always have a list of all your accounts and your tasks for the day.
Correct. I guess old school. I don't know. I mean,
you are. A lot of salesmen are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we prefer the paper. We prefer the breaking the barriers using slicks and different things that a lot of times
But for me, the paper, it's in front of me, right? I mean, I'm a visual, yes, I do set reminders and, I can automate everything, but I still like that paper, writing it down, because there are people that are not going to buy from you for a year, right? I'm not going to sit there and keep recreating, tasks on my calendar for 2 years. Like, not happening. Sorry. But I keep a running list of those people, and I literally will just, grab it every few weeks and just sit there. Say I got an hour break or whatever, and I'll sit there and start texting them and just shoot out text messages just constantly. I mean, I've got someone right now, we're going on 2.5 years, like we're still talking.
Yeah. All right. So mornings, you take the kids to school when your schedule permits and stuff like that.
Yes.
But I also know your mornings are big where you review your pipeline. So your existing customers, I know you go
Correct.
Pretty frequently, right? Is that a every morning thing? Or
I wouldn't say it's every morning.
At least weekly for you.
Oh, at least weekly for sure. But it doesn't need to be every morning, especially if the pod is rolling and they're doing their thing and everything's kind of moving smooth. Like you have to give them some trust that things are moving forward. I always know if I don't hear from a homeowner right during the process, then we know that everything's fine, right? I mean, so I don't. But yes, I do follow up with them and give them updates, but. So yes, I do check them just to make sure nothing got missed or whatever. Yeah, and then we'll jump on it.
And then you start running appointments, like you said, typically around noon or 2 o'clock. So That's when your day starts to get busy.
Correct.
And you kind of, man, you put some miles on your car, right?
Yes.
You'll go all over. In fact, you've gone to Tucson.
Yeah, I'll drive to Tucson for an appointment.
Yep.
Why not?
So
I'm going to close it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is I'm going to drive anywhere. You know, a little bit, you know, kind of sucks a little bit more now with gas being so high, but it is what it is, right? If you're going to close the deal, I'm still making money. And that's the thing. So yes, I'm available to drive anywhere. I'll go anywhere in the state. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to.
So one of the things that I've loved what you've done lately, and you kind of hit on it a little bit. So say you run an appointment and they're not there, you know, you don't just, you know, turn on a ball game, like you said, watch TV, go to a movie or something. You're working. And one of the tasks that you've kind of assigned to yourself is social media, right?
Yes,
so
definitely.
Talk a little bit about that and how and when you do that.
So I just, you know, so I'm in a lot of like garage sale groups, right? I guess you could say. Actually, a lot of towns have them, like swaps, things like that, you know, for your local town.
Right.
So there's one for the, you know, the city I live in the surrounding area. You know, I created my own business page as well, you know, and so what I'm doing, I'm just going through and I'll even search the group for the word solar, right? And just because people do post about it, they ask questions, you know, someone knocked on my door or I'm looking into solar. Who do you guys recommend? Right. And so I'm constantly looking through that. You know, I will post on my own page, usually about like once a week, just some value or my own bills or whatever, maybe, you know, boost it out there. Or, you know, I'll go through some of these sales groups, you know, and make a post as well too.
And why do you do that? Because you talked a little bit about this, but it started slow, right?
It did. But it's picking up. I mean, I'm at a point now where, like in the city that I live in, that if someone does go on there on Facebook and you know, online and has a question about who do you recommend for solar, I'm looking into it. I mean, I'm getting probably 7 to 10 people recommending me now, which is amazing.
And it happens frequently where your name is brought up anytime the word anthem is brought up in
with solar 100%. And it's taken me almost 7 years now to get to that point, right? But it's organically grown and it's slow, but it's starting to really pay off now, where I'm really getting the last month is like 1 or 2 a week right now that I'm getting people reaching out, which is, I'm just sitting there, you know what I mean? Like it's amazing. But I put the time in the background of it, but it's constantly being online. I utilize social media in this solar groups as well too. You know, I'm not really active in the sense of, and I'm not making huge posts about trainings but I'm just reading people's comments, reading questions, keeping a pulse on the industry, looking for guys who could recruit, you know, to come work for us as well too, but also understanding the competition as well and how they are selling, so I know how to sell against them.
I love that.
Yep.
So that's kind of your afternoons. You start running appointments. And then let's talk about your evenings. So
evenings are appointments usually. I mean, that's usually that. You know, if I have a 5 or 6 o'clock, you know, it's usually money, right? Because they should both be home. But that's about the latest I'll work. You know, it's not always fun getting home at 11 o'clock at night. You know, I like to put my kids to bed. So, you know, but yes, I'll run 6 o'clocks, and that's usually starting in the afternoon. Running appointments. If there's downtime, maybe I'll go knock some doors, go by an install. I mean, just being active during those working hours, no matter what you're doing, I'm being active with the job, right? And then run the appointments in the evening.
One of the things that I've realized about you as well is, you know, like I'll have reps shadow you and stuff like that, and in your downtime, you don't run home. Like you're not going back and forth to run appointments very often. Like if you're out. I'm out. You're out. You're working. You're, like I said, working pipelines or social media or you know, doing some type of an activity work wise.
Yes.
So you stay busy, and then let's say you run your last appointment, sell it, of course. So you get home about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, 8:30 sometimes, depending on where the appointment's at.
So what's your nights like then as a salesman?
Wow, that's kind of like, I mean, you're kind of on a high, right? I mean.
You always call me on your way home.
I do. You got to talk. I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, you got to talk to someone. You know, tell them.
It's funny because my wife's like, "We'll be in something, and you'll be calling." She's like, "Is that Karl?" Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you got an hour drive home, you talk to somebody. You know what I mean?
I love it.
But getting home, it's just helping the kids get to bed and just kind of winding down or trying to. You know, you're still. But at that point, really, I get home, I help. have some dinner, help with the kids, talk to the wife, right? And then we're going to relax for a little bit, watch some TV or watch the news or whatever.
So do you and your wife have a show that you guys watch and you watch every night together?
There's a lot of shows. We watch a lot.
But you guys,
yeah, we try to,
Yep.
And then she falls asleep and then I sit there and
Go back to work.
Make my task for the next day. I mean, it's always like a constant in my mind. Like, okay, what's the next thing you got to do? Like, it's always like that urgency, right? And so I'm always thinking of things I can do for the next day. It could be just a little, I need to message this guy tomorrow morning, right? Just shoot him a text. Send myself an email as a reminder.
So interesting. So you end every day creating your task list for the following day.
Correct. Awesome. Things I need to do. But it's also motivation as well too, right? Like, okay, I know I have some goals I need to accomplish the next day because I need to do these 5 things. And it could be 5 minutes worth of work, but it's still accomplishing, that goal that I set myself for the night before.
I love it.
And then checking the schedule, figuring out, doing my designs, coring out my day. Just, okay, where's this appointment at compared to this one? Where am I going to be driving to? Do I have enough gas in the car? There's all of that, right? Because then that matters what time I need to leave in the morning as well. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. But again, it's just constantly just that rolling schedule in your mind.
I love it.
Yep.
So the last thing I want to talk about in the day in the life of a salesman is the emotional aspect of it. So we talked about, the demands that the job has, the demands that the family has.
Yep.
But you mentioned something where, you close a sale, you're on an emotional high, right?
Correct.
But what about those emotional lows? Like, how does that affect your family? What do you do to not let it affect your family?
It's a tough one, being in sales. I mean, it can get you down. I mean, anybody can be affected by that mentally, if you go a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, or, I've called you before, like, man, I just had 3 deals cancel in a row, those days those aren't fun, but you just have to kind of remind yourself. I try to not carry that home. Try to. I mean, there's sometimes obviously, it can, come out right, but just on my way home, I try to just forget about it and try to remind myself.
But that's the reason for the phone calls, right?
Yeah.
I love how you said you reach out to someone, and you always do, whether it's Babe, whether it's me, whether it's another
anybody.
You reach out and you have to get rid of that so you're not taking it home. Right.
Otherwise, you'll sit there and just think like, okay, I could have done this differently, could have done that. Make you're beating yourself up over why this, but you can't control that, right? And you have to. Right. I think it's one thing that you have to remind yourself is that you can only control what you can control. Mm-hmm. I can't control someone canceling. I can't control this appointment, not being home or the wife not being there. You can't control any of that. But if you let that consume you, then it's not a good path to head down.
Yeah,
definitely.
I love it. Well, Karl, thank you for your time. A day in the life of a salesman, one of the best. So I wanted to snag you for a few minutes and kind of hear your story. So thank you.
Definitely. I appreciate you having me on.
All right.
All right.